Commercial Motor Vehicle Safety Act of 1986 established a national commercial driver licensing program. The program was designed to improve driver quality by ensuring that commercial drivers are properly trained to operate the vehicles they drive, to identify and remove problem drivers, and to establish a national information system to prevent commercial drivers from having more than one driver's license. The Act applies to all drivers of intrastate or interstate commercial vehicles and their employers. The Act defines a commercial motor vehicle as a motor vehicle used in commerce to transport passengers or property if the vehicle has a gross vehicle weight rating of over 26,000 pounds, or is a trailer with a gross vehicle weight rating of more than 10,000 pounds, or is designed to transport 15 or more passengers, including the driver, or is used in the transportation of hazardous materials, substances, and waste. Plus, your state may have additional requirements. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, to assist its more than 6,000 certified equipment operators, has developed this training program to support that legislation. This video is the first in a series of 10 designed to help you with the required training and testing. The videos are designed to be self-supporting in that they do not require the presence of an instructor, but you should have a copy of the driver's manual. The 10 video programs are separated in the following manner. Overview, Part 1. Information for all drivers, Part 2. Part 2 is divided into 4 subparts. 2A, Vehicle Inspection, 2B, Operating Techniques, 2C, Operating Techniques Continued, and 2D, Safety. Transporting Cargo, Part 3. Transporting Passengers, Part 4. Air Brakes, Part 5. Combination Vehicles, Part 6. And Hazardous Material, Part 7. Depending on the type of license you wish to obtain, you may be required to take written and road tests. You see many types of commercial vehicles on the road, and you will see quite a few in this video series. It is not possible to demonstrate all of the vehicle types and their testing requirements. For this reason, the videos will primarily focus on the standard dump trucks operated by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. However, individual programs will feature other vehicles. For example, Part 4, Transporting Passengers, features a school bus and a motor coach. You will be tested on a vehicle that is representative of the type you wish to operate. The video will, using the dump truck primarily, show you the pre-trip inspection procedures, basic control skills, and a sample of a road test. Part 2A of the video series shows the complete 7-step inspection process. Other video programs dealing with other types of equipment will refer back to this part, Part 2A. As an example, Part 6 of this series deals with combination vehicles, but it also references Part 2, where you got the basic information on your pre-trip inspection. Look at the video series as a big book, especially Parts 1, 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. The others are specialty parts. For example, Part 6 for combination vehicles and Part 7 for hazardous materials. Let's take a moment and look at just what each of the parts contains. The overview program corresponds to Section 1 of the Model Driver's Manual for Commercial Vehicle Driver Licensing. As you go through the manual in preparation for taking the required tests to obtain and/or retain your commercial driver's license, you'll see that the video programs correspond to separate sections within the manual, and that the terms used in the video are the same as the terms in the manual. That's important to remember. The manual, the videos, the test questions all use the same terms so that you will read and hear the same information. Within each video program, you will be told which section within the manual that the video program refers to. The overview program, which is program number 1 in the series, is a general knowledge program which should be viewed by all commercial driver's license applicants. It refers to section 1 of the manual. Within this video program, you will gain information on knowledge tests and skill tests to include various exercises and road tests that may or may not be required of each applicant. The second program in the series, identified as all drivers, corresponds to section 2 of the manual. In capital letters at the beginning of that section, they say knowledge required by all commercial drivers. This program, Part 2A through 2D, deals with things that are common to everything that all commercial drivers should know. We'll talk about types of vehicle inspections and inspection methods, various components within the inspection procedure, how to do a good safety inspection, and then get into such areas as basic control of the vehicle, shifting gears, seeing, communicating, managing space, driving in winter weather, and the human and vehicle factors that affect all of these. Part 2 deals with a lot of items and is, as the introduction says, a general overview necessary for all drivers. The third video program, Transporting Cargo, will cover such items as the terms used in cargo transportation, such as gross vehicle weight, axle weight, tire load, etc. It will cover proper load securement, methods for securing cargo when you're hauling liquids, sealed and containerized loads, and those that are bulky or odd-shaped. Video program 4 deals with the transportation of passengers. This is primarily addressed to bus drivers who must have a commercial driver's license. You are not considered a bus driver if you only carry family members for non-business purposes. You are a bus driver if you transport people other than your family in a bus. While the program deals specifically with buses, the general information is certainly usable for people who own vans, recreation vehicles, motorhomes, etc. After all, a bus is a bus is a bus. The fifth video deals with air brakes. The program will cover the component parts of the air brake system: air compressor governor, inner storage tanks, air tank drains, evaporators, safety valves, and the brake pedal. If you drive any vehicle that has an air brake system, either single or dual, this program is certainly worth reviewing. The number 6 video in the series deals with combination vehicles. These are tractor trailers or straight truck and trailer. Since combination vehicles are usually heavier, longer, and require more driving skill than single vehicles, it means that the drivers of these vehicles need more knowledge and skill. In this video, you will see some important safety factors shown that apply specifically to these type of vehicles. How to prevent rollover, how to steer properly, how to recognize the possibility of skidding, how to turn wide without interrupting the whole neighborhood. Related to the program that went before, Part 5, air brakes, this program will talk about combination vehicle air brakes, especially in the methods for coupling and uncoupling. The last program will deal with hazardous materials. This is video program number 7. The program will deal with those hazardous material regulations, your responsibilities in normal driving situations, and what to do in the event of an emergency. You will find in this video information on recognizing, reacting to, and safely dealing with the many types of hazardous materials that you may haul and that of themselves pose a risk to health, safety, and property, yours as well as someone else's. This program has shown you some examples of the programs within the video series. Each of the programs will begin with a common beginning. You will see this each time a video program in this series is put on television. The difference will be the title of the program, Part 1, Part 2, etc., as it appears on the screen. Programs 2A through 7 will have examples of the type of questions that you will be asked on the test for your commercial driver license. These questions will appear when you see Test Your Knowledge on the screen. Each question will have been answered in the video, and you may wish to look at parts of the program again as a review.
What things
You will
should
also
you check during
hear
the trip?
a different narrator during those Test Your Knowledge sections. The videos are meant to assist you in passing the commercial operator licensing requirements. You may also be given workbooks, handouts, etc. Even if you don't get them, you can use the videos as a means for seeing what is written in the manual as an added aid in understanding the written word, or just as a review. You will have to take one or more knowledge tests depending on what class of license and what endorsements you need. The commercial driver license knowledge tests include the general knowledge test taken by all applicants, the passenger transport test taken by all bus driver applicants, the air brakes test, which you must take if your vehicle has air brakes, the combination vehicles test required if you want to drive combination vehicles, the hazardous materials test required if you want to haul hazardous material or waste, the tanker test required if you want to haul liquids in bulk, the doubles, triples test required if you want to pull double or triple trailers. If you pass the required knowledge tests, you can take the commercial driver license skills test. There are 3 types of CDL skill tests: the pre-trip inspection test, the basic control skills test, and the road test. You must take these tests in the type of vehicle you wish to be licensed for. The videos were produced for you by your peers. Their only intent is to assist. The Commercial Driver License Video Series is an internal production of the Training Division, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, and Commonwealth Media Services, Pennsylvania Department of General Services. The producers wish to acknowledge the valuable assistance given to this series by Consolidated Freightways, York, Pennsylvania, Capital Products, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, Rohr Bus Lines, Duncannon, Pennsylvania, and the Eastern Pennsylvania Training Facility, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation at Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. This part contains general knowledge and safe driving practices which all commercial drivers should know. You must take a test on this information to get a commercial driver's license. This part, Part 2, is divided into 4 subparts. 2A, Vehicle Inspection, 2B, Operating Techniques, 2C, Operating Techniques Continued, and 2D, Safety. The 4 subparts refer to Section 2 of the Driver's Manual. This is Part 2A, Vehicle Inspection. The examiner's manual lists the main steps of the pre-trip inspection as 1. Inspect the engine compartment. 2. Perform the in-vehicle checks. 3. Shut down the engine. 4. Perform the external inspection. The examiner's manual then states, page 33, provided that the driver follows these main steps, let the driver inspect individual items in whatever order he or she likes. The sequence in this video program has been changed to suit the truck illustrated. You may need to make a different sequence. Once you have an efficient sequence for your truck, it will be good to follow it every time so it becomes a habit and you won't forget anything. A driver should be able to state the key features or symptoms that show if a vehicle component is safe or unsafe. The driver does not have to give a word-for-word description of what the standards say. You inspect your vehicle for safety and legal requirements. Inspecting your vehicle helps you to know that your vehicle is safe, and there are federal and state laws that require inspection by the driver. Federal and state inspectors also inspect commercial vehicles, and an unsafe vehicle can be out of service until the driver or owner fixes it. The first type of vehicle inspection to look at is the pre-trip inspection. Anytime you do a pre-trip inspection, put the starter switch key in your pocket. You don't want someone else starting the vehicle. The pre-trip inspection is done before each trip to find problems that could cause a crash or a breakdown. And while you are on your trip, you should watch gauges for signs of trouble, use your senses to check for problems, look, listen, smell, and feel. Check critical items when you stop: tires, wheels and rims, brakes, lights, brake and electrical connections to the trailer, trailer coupling devices, cargo securement devices. Finally, there is the after-trip inspection and report. Almost all commercial and government transportation agencies require an after-trip inspection, either at the end of your trip, the end of your workday, or the end of a tour of duty. It may require that you fill out a vehicle condition report listing any problems that you find. This inspection report alerts the vehicle owner so that he may know when and what to fix, and get it fixed. The law forbids you to operate an unsafe vehicle. All vehicle inspections have certain things in common. You should look for items that could cause danger to you or to other motorists or to the general public. Obviously, it is dangerous to drive with bad tires. You look for such problems as too much or too little air pressure. Bad wear. You need at least 4 32/2 of an inch tread depth in every major groove on your front wheels. You need 2 32/2 of an inch tread depth on other wheels. Look for cuts or other damage, tread separation, dual tires that come in contact with each other or parts of the vehicle, mismatched sizes, radial and bias ply tires used together. Check for cut or cracked valve stems. Regrooved, recapped, or retreaded tires are never used on the front wheels of a bus, nor are they recommended on the front wheels of any vehicle. Direct your attention now to the wheel and to the rims. Damaged rims can cause a tire to lose pressure or to come off. Rust around the wheel nuts may mean the nuts are loose. Check the tightness. If you know that a tire has been changed, stop a short while later and recheck the tightness of the lug nuts. Missing clamps, spacers, studs, lugs mean danger. Mismatched, dented, or cracked lock rings are dangerous. Any wheel or rim that has been welded is not safe. While the operator is not normally required to be a brake expert, these are some of the indicators of brake defects that will alert you to possible danger. Cracked brake drums, brake shoes or pads with oil, grease, or brake fluid on them, and brake shoes worn thinner than 1 32/2 of an inch at any point. The steering system is another area that must be checked for missing nuts, bolts, cotter keys or other parts, bent, loose, or broken parts such as a steering column, steering gearbox, or tie rods. If your vehicle is equipped with power steering, check the hoses, pumps, and fluid level. Always check for leaks. The steering wheel that has a play of more than 10 degrees, which is approximately 2 inches movement for a 20-inch steering wheel, can make it hard and possibly dangerous to steer. Your vehicle has a suspension system, which in effect holds up the vehicle and its load and keeps the axles in place. Broken suspension parts can be extremely dangerous. Check for spring hangers that allow movement, cracked or broken spring hangers, missing or broken leaves in any leaf spring, broken leaves that may have shifted so that they could hit a tire or other part of the vehicle, leaking shock absorbers, torque arm, U-bolts, spring hangers, or other axle positioning parts that are cracked, damaged, or missing. If you have an air suspension system, look for damaged and or leaking components. Always check for any loose, cracked, broken, or missing frame member. A broken or defective exhaust system can allow poisonous fumes into the cab or sleeper berth. Check for loose, broken, or missing exhaust pipes, mufflers, tailpipes, or vertical stacks. Loose, broken, or missing mounting brackets, clamps, bolts, or nuts. Exhaust system parts rubbing against fuel system parts, or other moving parts of the vehicle. All commercial vehicles should be equipped with emergency equipment to include, but not limited to, fire extinguisher, spare electrical fuses, unless of course your vehicle is equipped with circuit breakers, warning devices for parked vehicles. You should have 3 reflective warning triangles. You must inspect for cargo overloading and correct balance and securement before each trip. If the cargo contains hazardous materials, you must also inspect for proper papers and placarding.
What is the most important reason for doing vehicle inspections? What things should you check during a trip? Name some key steering system parts. Name some suspension system defects. What 3 kinds of emergency equipment must you have? What is the minimum tread depth for front tires? For other tires? If you cannot answer these questions, or you are uncomfortable with your answers, review this video and the pertinent sections of the manual.
That's generally the things that you have to check. Let's look now at some specific ways to do that. Your pre-trip inspection should be done the same way each time so that it becomes a habit. The following 7-step procedure is a useful guide. You may refer to the memory aids on page 2-5 and 2-6 of the manual. Number 1, overview. Approaching the vehicle, look at its overall condition, checking for damage in any fuel, oil, or water leaks. 2, check the engine compartment. Raise the hood of the cab and open the engine compartment door. 3, start the engine and check inside the vehicle. Allow it to warm up and check controls and instruments. Check the condition of all your emergency equipment. Check the lights. Apply the parking brake with the wheels chocked if necessary. Get out and check the high and low beam headlights and the 4-way warning flashers. 5, conduct a walk-around inspection. Turn off the headlights and the 4-way flashers, turn on marker, clearance, and identification lights, and put the right turn signal on and do a walk-around inspection. Continue to check the lights. Turn off all your lights, turn on the left turn signal and the stop lights. Make sure they all work. Check the brake system. Get in, turn the lights on and off as required for driving. Test your brake system and look again at your instruments. We will now go through each of the 7 steps in greater detail. Number 1, the overview. As you approach the vehicle, notice the general condition. Look for evident damage on the vehicle or the vehicle leaning to one side. Look under the vehicle for fresh oil, coolant, grease, or fuel stains. Check the area around the vehicle for hazards to vehicle movement, people, other vehicles, objects, low-hanging wires, limbs, etc. Take the time to review the last vehicle inspection report. The vehicle owner should repair any items in the report that affect safety. Next, the engine compartment. The parking brakes are on, and if required, the wheels are chocked. Raise the hood, tilt the cab, or open the engine compartment door depending upon the vehicle you have. You must check the following: the engine oil level, the coolant level in the radiator and the condition of the hoses, power steering fluid level and hoses, if your vehicle is so equipped, windshield washer fluid level, battery fluid level, connections and tie downs. You may have a sealed battery, but you can still look at the connectors and the tie downs. Check the battery here if it is in the engine compartment, or if mounted outside, check it when you do your external inspection, but it must be checked. The automatic transmission fluid level. This may require that the engine be running, so look at your handbook. Check belts for tightness and excessive wear. Become familiar with just how much give the belts should have when adjusted properly. Look for leaks or stains in the engine compartment. Always check for any cracked or worn electrical wiring insulation. Lower and secure the hood, cab, or engine compartment door. Our next step is to start the engine and inspect inside the cab. Get in and put on your seatbelt. Make sure the parking brake is on. Put the gear shift in neutral or in park if it's an automatic. Start the engine and listen for unusual noises. Your gauges are extremely important and will give you warning if something is wrong with your vehicle. The oil pressure gauge should come up to normal within seconds after the engine is started. Your ammeter and/or voltmeter should be in normal range. The coolant temperature gauge should begin a gradual rise to normal operating level. The engine oil temperature should begin a gradual rise. Warning lights and buzzers like your oil, coolant, and charging circuit warning lights should go out almost immediately. Now, check the condition of your controls. Check for looseness, sticking, damage, or improper settings. The steering wheel for excessive play. The clutch for firmness to the foot touch. The accelerator. The brake controls, to include the foot brake, trailer brake if so equipped, parking brake, and retarder controls if your vehicle has them. Your transmission controls. Your interaxle differential lock if your vehicle is so equipped. The horn, the windshield wipers and washer. Your lights, to include the headlights, dimmer switch, turn signals, four-way flashers, and any clearance, identification, and marker light switches. Check the mirrors and windshield for cracks, dirt, illegal or illegible stickers, or any other obstructions to clear vision. Clean and adjust as necessary. Check your emergency equipment. You should have spare electrical fuses, 3 red reflective triangles, properly charged and rated fire extinguisher. Depending upon the time of year, you may have such optional items as tire chains, tire changing equipment, a list of emergency phone numbers, an accident reporting kit. Apply the parking brake. Turn on the headlights at the low beam setting, the four-way flashers, and get out of the cab. Go to the front of the vehicle and check that the low beams are on and both of the front four-way flashers are working. Return to the vehicle cab and push the dimmer switch and now check that the high beams work. Go to the rear of the vehicle and check that the back four-way flashers are working. Turn off the headlights and the four-way hazard warning flashers. Turn on the parking, clearance, side marker and identification lights and the right turn signal. Start your walk-around inspection. Walk around and generally inspect the condition of the vehicle. As you are doing this, clean all the lights, reflectors, and glass as you go along. For example, on the left front side of your vehicle, the driver's door glass should be clean. Check the door latches or the locks. Look at the left front wheel, the condition of the wheel and rim, the condition of the tires. Use a wrench to test rust streak lug nuts and check the hub oil level for any leaks. Look under at the left front suspension. You want to know the condition of the springs, spring hangers, shackles, and U-bolts. Look for any leaking shock absorbers. In the front of the vehicle, look for loose, worn, bent, damaged, or missing parts. Look at the condition of the windshield. You have already checked from the interior, but now look again. Check the wiper blades for damage, stiff or hardened rubber, and securement. Your lights and reflectors should be looked at for cleanliness, operating condition, and proper color. They are to be amber at the front of the vehicle. Now we move to the right side of the vehicle. The proper walk-around inspection is really a matter of habit, so check the same things on the right as you did on the left front. Make sure that your primary and safety cab locks are engaged if you have a cab over engine design. Move to the right fuel tank. Check that it is securely mounted, no visible damage and no leaks. Check the hookup for fuel crossover line. Be certain that the tanks contain enough fuel and that the caps are on and secure. Staying in the same general position, look under the vehicle. You are looking in the area of the rear of the engine and should not see any leaks from either it or the transmission. The exhaust system should be secure with no obvious broken clamps or broken pipes. If your truck is equipped with air lines and or exposed electrical wiring, make sure they're secured properly so they cannot snag, rub, or wear. If so equipped, the spare tire carrier or rack and the spare tire itself should be checked for proper mounting. Is the spare tire and wheel adequate? That is it the proper size, and is the tire properly inflated? If you are transporting cargo, is the cargo properly blocked, braced, tied, chained, etc.? If your truck has sideboard stakes, are the stakes free of damage and properly set in place? If your load requires a canvas or tarp, it should be properly secured to prevent tearing, billowing, or blocking of mirrors. If you have an oversized load, you must have all required signs properly mounted and all required permits in your possession. Check that curbside cargo compartment doors are securely closed, latched, and locked, and any required security seals are in place. Move now to the right rear of the vehicle. Look at the condition of the wheels and rims. Nothing missing, dented, or broken? Look at the condition of the tires. They should be properly inflated. The valve stem should have caps. There should be no serious cuts, bulges, undue tread wear, and the tires should not rub against each other. And check that nothing is stuck between them. A common error made by many drivers is mixing radial and bias ply tires. For proper safety, all tires should be of the same type and they should be of the same size. While you are in the area, look for any leaks from your wheel bearings and glance underneath to see if there are any broken springs or hangers in your suspension system. Check your wheel bearing seals for leaking. Look at the condition of any brake hoses, and again look at lights and reflectors. Side marker lights should be clean, operating, in the proper color. Remember, red at the rear, others are amber. The same with the reflectors. The side marker reflectors should be clean and the proper color. Red at the rear, others amber. Move now to the exact rear of the vehicle. Looking again at lights and reflectors. The rear clearance and identification lights are clean, operating in the proper color. The reflectors are clean and of proper color. The taillights are clean, operating in the proper color. The right rear turn signal is operating in the proper color, which is red, yellow, or amber at the rear. The license plate and plates are in place, clean and secured. Splash guards are in place, not damaged, and properly fastened. Make sure they do not rub against the tires. Again, if you are hauling cargo, make sure the cargo is properly blocked, braced, tied, chained, etc. If your truck is equipped with a tailboard, make sure it is up and properly secured. The end gates, if your truck has them, should be free of damage and properly secured in their socket. Just as you did on the right side of the vehicle, check again for the canvas or tarp so that it is properly secured to prevent tearing or billowing. If your vehicle is over length or over width, make sure that all signs and additional lights and flags are safely and properly mounted, and all required permits are in your possession. Check all items as you did on the right side, plus these added few. The battery, if it is not mounted in the engine compartment. While you are checking the battery, make sure that the battery box is securely mounted on the vehicle, has a secured cover, and that the battery itself is secure against movement. Check to see that the battery is not broken or leaking. If you have a maintenance-free battery, you can still check the cables and the connectors. If you have the older type battery, be sure to check that the fluid is at the proper level and retighten the cell caps. Now we come to step 6 in our 7-step inspection process, which is entitled Check Signal Lights. Get in the vehicle and turn off all the lights. Turn on the stop lights. Turn on left turn signal lights. Get out now and check the lights. The front turn signal lights must be clean, operating, and the proper color, which is amber or white on signals facing the front. And the rear turn signal lights and both stop lights must be clean, operating, and the proper color, red, yellow, or amber. Now to step 7, which is entitled Check the Brake System. Get in the vehicle and turn off the lights not needed for driving. Check for all required papers, trip manifests, permits, etc. Be sure to secure all loose articles in the cab. They might interfere with the operation of your controls or bounce around if you have to stop suddenly. If the vehicle has hydraulic brakes, pump the brake pedal 3 times, then apply firm pressure to the pedal and hold it for 5 seconds. The pedal should not move. If it does, there may be a leak or another problem, and you should get it fixed before driving the vehicle. If your vehicle has air brakes, you should refer to parts 5 and 6 of this video series for the proper checks to accomplish. Now you want to test your parking brake. Fasten your seatbelt and allow the vehicle to move very slowly. Apply the parking brake. If it doesn't stop the vehicle at speeds of 5 miles per hour or less, it is faulty and it should be fixed. Remember, any unusual brake pedal feel or delayed stopping action can mean trouble. This completes the pre-trip inspection. Remember, if you find anything unsafe during the pre-trip inspection, get it fixed. Federal and state laws forbid operating an unsafe vehicle.
Name some things you should check on the front of your vehicle during the walk-around inspection. What should wheel bearing seals be checked for? How many red reflective triangles should you carry? How do you test hydraulic brakes for leaks? Can you bring the vehicle inspection memory aid with you to the test? Why put the starter switch key in your pocket during the pre-trip inspection? If you cannot answer these questions, or you are uncomfortable with your answers, review this video and the pertinent sections of the manual.
Even though you have done a thorough pre-trip inspection, it still pays to conduct short inspections during your trip, especially if you are driving many miles. You should check your instruments such as your air pressure gauge, your temperature gauge, any other pressure gauges, your ammeter and/or voltmeter. Look for any distortion in your mirrors and occasionally glance back to your rear mirror for your cargo and cargo cover securement. If you see, hear, smell, or feel anything that might mean trouble, check it out. Truck drivers should inspect within the first 25 miles of a trip and every 150 miles or every 3 hours afterward. Not only is it a good safety inspection, but it gives you a chance to stretch your legs. Check the cargo doors and/or the cargo securement. Look at the tires. You checked them before you left. Are they still properly inflated and not overheated? Check the brakes for overheating. You can do this by putting the back of your hand near the brake drums. If you cannot comfortably come within 2 to 3 inches of the brake drum, then you have an overheating brake system. If your truck is so equipped, look at your coupling devices. Once you have safely completed your trip, you may have to make a written report on the condition of the vehicle you drove. Report anything affecting safety or possibly leading to mechanical breakdown. The vehicle inspection report tells the vehicle owner about problems that may need fixing. Keep a copy of the report in your vehicle. That way the next driver can learn about any problems you have found and check to be sure that they have been fixed. The Commercial Driver License Video Series is an internal production of the Training Division, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, and Commonwealth Media Services, Pennsylvania Department of General Services. The producers wish to acknowledge the valuable assistance given to this series by Consolidated Freightways, York, Pennsylvania, Capital Products, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, Rohr Bus Lines, Duncannon, Pennsylvania, and the Eastern Pennsylvania Training Facility, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation at Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. This part deals with the basic control of your vehicle. To drive a vehicle safely, you must be able to control its speed and direction. Safe operation of a commercial vehicle requires skill in accelerating, steering, shifting gears, and braking. Fasten your seatbelt when on the road. Apply the parking brake when you leave your vehicle. Don't roll back when you start. You may hit someone behind you. Partly engage the clutch before you take your right foot off the brake. Put on the parking brake whenever necessary to keep from rolling back. Release the parking brake only when you have applied enough engine power to keep from rolling back. Speed up smoothly and gradually so the vehicle does not jerk. Rough acceleration can cause vehicle damage. When pulling a trailer, rough acceleration can damage the coupling. Speed up very slowly when traction is poor, as in rain or snow. If you use too much power, the drive wheels may spin. You could lose control. If your drive wheels begin to spin, take your foot off the accelerator. Hold the wheel right. Hold the steering wheel firmly with both hands. Your hands should be on opposite sides of the wheel. If you hit a curb or pothole, the wheel could pull away from you if you don't have a firm grip. When backing a car, straight truck, or bus, you turn the top of the steering wheel toward the direction you want to go. When backing a trailer, you turn the wheel in the opposite direction. Once the trailer starts to turn, you must turn the wheel the other way to follow the trailer. Whenever you back with a trailer, try to position your vehicle so you can back in a straight line. If you must back on a curved path, back to the driver's side so you can see. Back slowly. This will help you make corrections before you get too far off course. Use the mirrors. The mirrors will let you see if the trailer is drifting off to one side. If you do drift, correct the drift immediately. Correct by turning the top of the steering wheel in the direction of the drift. When backing a trailer, make pull-ups to reposition your vehicle as needed. Because you cannot see everything behind your vehicle, backing is always dangerous. Avoid backing when you can. When you park, try to park so you can pull forward when you leave. Remember, if you have to back, look at your path, back slowly, back and turn towards the driver's side whenever possible, use a helper whenever possible. Let's look at those 4 items again. Look at your path. Look at your line of travel before you begin. Get out and walk around the vehicle. Check your clearance to the sides and above your vehicle. Always back as slowly as possible. Use the lowest reverse gear. That way you can more easily correct any steering errors and can stop quickly if possible. Back and turn toward the driver's side. Backing to the driver's side allows you to see better. Backing to the right side is very dangerous because you can't see very well. If you back and turn towards the driver's side, you can watch the rear of your vehicle by looking out the side window. Use driver's side backing even if it means going around the block to put your vehicle in this position. The added safety is worth it. Use a helper when you can. The helper should stand near the back where you can see. Before backing, work out a set of hand signals that you both understand. Agree on a signal for stop. The correct shifting of gears is important. If you cannot get your vehicle into the right gear while driving, you will have less control. The following is the basic method for shifting up. Most heavy vehicles with manual transmissions require double clutching to change gears. Release accelerator, push in clutch, and shift to neutral at the same time. Release clutch. Let engine and gears slow down to the RPM required for the next gear. This takes practice. Push in clutch and shift to the higher gear at the same time. Release the clutch and press the accelerator at the same time. Shifting gears using double clutching requires practice. If you remain too long in neutral, you may have difficulty putting the vehicle into the next gear. If so, don't try to force it. Return to neutral, release the clutch, increase the engine speed to match the road speed, and try again. There are two ways of knowing when to shift. Using engine speed. Study the driver's manual for your vehicle and learn the operating RPM range. Watch your tachometer and shift up when your engine reaches the top of the range. Some newer vehicles use progressive shifting. The RPM at which you shift becomes higher as you move up in the gears. Find out what's right for the vehicle you operate. Use the road speed. Learn what speed each gear is good for. Then, while using the speedometer, you'll know when to shift up. With either method, you may learn to use engine sounds to know when to shift.
Why should you back toward the driver's side? What is a pull-up? If stopped on a hill, how can you start moving without rolling back? When backing, why is it important to use a helper? What is the most important hand signal that you and the helper should agree on? If you cannot answer these questions, or you are uncomfortable with your answers, review this video and the pertinent sections of the manual.
Basic procedures for shifting down are release the accelerator, push in the clutch, and shift to neutral at the same time. Release the clutch. Press the accelerator, increase engine gear speed to the RPM required in the lower gear, push in the clutch and shift the lower gear at the same time. Release the clutch and press the accelerator at the same time. Downshifting, like upshifting, requires knowing when to shift. Use either the tachometer or the speedometer and downshift at the right RPM or road speed. Following are special conditions where you should downshift. Before starting down a hill, slow down and shift down to a speed you can control without using the brakes hard. Otherwise, the brakes can overheat and lose their braking power. Downshift before starting down the hill. Make sure you are in a low enough gear, usually lower than the gear required to climb the same hill. Slow down to a safe speed and downshift to the right gear before entering the curve. This lets you use some power through the curve to help the vehicle be more stable while turning. It also lets you speed up as soon as you are out of the curve. Multi-speed rear axles and auxiliary transmissions are used on many vehicles to provide extra gears. You usually control them by a selector knob or switch on the gear shift lever of the main transmission. There are many different shift patterns. Learn the right way to shift gears in the vehicle you will drive. Your vehicle may have an automatic transmission. You can select the low range to get greater engine braking when going down grades. The lower ranges prevent the transmission from shifting up beyond a selected gear. It is very important to use this braking effect when going down grades. Some vehicles have retarders. Retarders help slow a vehicle, reducing the need for using your brakes. They reduce brake wear and give you another way to slow down. There are many types of retarders: exhaust, engine, hydraulic, electric. All retarders can be turned on or off by the driver. Caution: when your drive wheels have poor traction, the retarder may cause them to skid. Therefore, you should turn the retarder off whenever the road is wet, icy, or snow-covered.
What are the 2 special conditions where you should downshift? When should you downshift automatic transmissions? Retarders keep you from skidding when the road is slippery. True or false? What are 2 ways to know when to shift? If you cannot answer these questions, or you are uncomfortable with your answers, review this video and the pertinent sections of the manual.
To be a safe driver, you need to know what's going on at all times around your vehicle. Not looking properly is a major cause of accidents. All drivers look ahead, but many don't look far enough ahead. Because stopping or changing lanes can take a lot of distance, knowing what the traffic is doing on all sides of you is very important. You need to look well enough ahead to make sure you have room to make these moves safely. Most good drivers look 12 to 15 seconds ahead. That means looking ahead the distance you will travel in 12 to 15 seconds. At low speed, that's about 1 block. At highway speeds, it's about a quarter of a mile. If you're not looking that far ahead, you may have to stop too quickly or make quick lane changes. Looking 12 to 15 seconds ahead doesn't mean not paying attention to things that are closer. Good drivers shift their attention back and forth, near and far. Look for traffic. Look for vehicles coming onto the highway or into your lane or turning. Watch for brake lights from slowing vehicles. By seeing these things far enough ahead, you can change your speed or change lanes if necessary to avoid a problem. Look for road conditions. Look for hills and curves, anything you may have to slow down or change lanes for. Pay attention to traffic signals and signs. If a light has been green for a long time, it will probably change before you get there. Start slowing down and be ready to stop. Traffic signs may alert you to road conditions where you may have to change speed. It's important to know what's going on behind and to the sides. Check your mirrors regularly. Check more often in special situations. In an emergency, you may need to know whether you can make a quick lane change. Use your mirrors to spot overtaking vehicles. There are blind spots that your mirrors cannot show you. Check your mirrors regularly to see if vehicles are moving into your blind spots. Check your vehicle. Use the mirrors to keep an eye on your tires. It's one way to spot a tire fire. If you're carrying an open cargo, you can use the mirrors to check it. Look for loose straps, ropes, or chains. Watch for flapping or ballooning tarp. Special situations require more than regular mirror checks. These are lane changes, turns, merges, and tight maneuvers. For lane changes, you need to check your mirrors to make sure no one is alongside you or about to pass you. Check your mirrors before you change lanes to make sure there's enough room. After you have signaled, check that no one has moved out of your blind spot. When you start the lane change, to double check that your path is clear after you complete the lane change. In turns, check your mirrors to make sure the rear of your vehicle will not hit anything. When merging, use your mirrors to make sure the gap in traffic is large enough for you to enter safely. Anytime you are driving in close quarters, check your mirrors often. Be sure you have enough clearance. Use the mirrors correctly by checking them quickly and understanding what you see. When you use your mirrors while driving on the road, check quickly. Look back and forth between the mirrors and the road ahead. Don't focus on the mirrors for too long. Otherwise, you will travel quite a distance without knowing what's happening ahead. Many large vehicles have curved, convex, fisheye, spot, bug eye mirrors that show a wider area than flat mirrors. This is often helpful. But everything appears smaller in a convex mirror than it would if you were looking at it directly. Things also seem farther away than they really are. It's important to realize this and to allow for it. Other drivers can't know what you're going to do until you tell them. Signaling what you intend to do is important for safety. There are 3 good rules when using turn signals. Signal early. Signal well before you turn. It is the best way to keep others from trying to pass you. Signal continuously. You need both hands on the wheel to turn safely. Don't cancel the signal until you have completed the turn. Cancel your signal. Don't forget to turn off the turn signal after you've turned. Put your turn signal on before changing lanes. Change lanes slowly and smoothly. That way a driver you didn't see may have a chance to honk the horn or otherwise avoid your vehicle. Warn drivers behind you when you see you're going to need to slow down. A few light taps on the brake pedal, enough to flash the brake lights, should warn following drivers. Use the 4-way emergency flashers for times when you are driving very slow or are stopped. Warn other drivers in any of the following situations. When you see trouble ahead. The size of your vehicle may make it hard for drivers behind you to see hazards ahead. If you see a hazard that will require slowing down, warn the drivers behind you by flashing your brake lights. When you're going to make a tight turn. Most car drivers don't know how slow you have to go to make a tight turn in a large vehicle. Give drivers behind you a warning by braking early and slowing gradually. When stopping on the road. Truck and bus drivers sometimes stop on the road to unload cargo or passengers or to stop at a railroad crossing. Warn following drivers by flashing your brake lights. Don't stop suddenly. When driving slowly, drivers often do not realize how fast they are catching up to a slow vehicle until they are very close. If you must drive slowly, alert following drivers by turning on your emergency flashers, if it is legal. Laws regarding the use of flashers do differ from one state to another. Always check the laws of the states where you will be driving. Don't direct traffic. Some drivers try to help others by signaling when it is safe to pass. You should not do this. You could cause an accident and you could be blamed, and it could cost you and your employer many thousands of dollars. Other drivers may not notice your vehicle even when it's in plain sight. When you are about to pass a vehicle, a pedestrian or bicyclist, assume that they do not see you. When it is legal, tap the horn lightly, or at night, flash your lights from low to high beam and back, and drive carefully. When it's hard to see, as at dawn or dusk or in rain or snow, you may need to make yourself easier to see. If you are having trouble seeing other vehicles, other drivers will have trouble seeing you. Turn on your lights. Use the headlights, not just the identification or clearance lights. Use the low beams. High beams can bother people in the daytime as they do at night. When you pull off and park at the side of the road, be sure to turn on the 4-way emergency flashers. This is important at night. Don't trust the taillights to give warning. Drivers have crashed into the rear of a parked truck because they thought it was moving normally. If you must stop on a road or the shoulder of a road, you should put out your reflective triangles within 10 minutes. Place your warning devices at the following locations. On the traffic side of the vehicle within 10 feet of the front or rear corners to mark the location of the vehicle. About 100 feet behind and ahead of the vehicle on the shoulder or in the lane you are stopped in. Back beyond any hill, curve, or other obstruction that prevents other drivers from seeing the vehicle within 500 feet. If you must stop on or by a one-way or divided highway, place warning devices 10 feet, 100 feet, and 200 feet toward the approaching traffic. When putting out the triangles, hold them between yourself and the oncoming traffic for your own safety. This helps other drivers see you. Your horn can let others know you're there. It can also help to avoid an accident. Use your horn when needed. Remember, however, it can startle others and could be dangerous when used unnecessarily. Driving too fast is a major cause of fatal crashes. You must adjust your speed depending on driving conditions. These include traction, curves, visibility, traffic, and hills. There are three things that add up to total stopping distance: perception distance, reaction distance, braking distance equal total stopping distance. Perception distance is the distance your vehicle travels from the time your eyes see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is about 3/4 of a second. At 55 miles per hour, you travel 60 feet in 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance traveled from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot is actually pushing the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. This accounts for an additional 60 feet traveled at 55 mph. Braking distance is the distance it takes to stop once the brakes are put on. At 55 miles per hour on dry pavement with good brakes, it takes a truck about 170 feet to stop. This stopping takes about 4 1/2 seconds. So your total stopping distance at 55 miles per hour will take about 6 seconds in time, and your vehicle will travel about the distance of a football field. 60 plus 60 plus 170 equals 290 feet. Speed has an effect on stopping distance. When you go twice as fast, it will take about 4 times the distance to stop, and the vehicle will have 4 times the destructive power if it crashes. High speeds increase stopping distances greatly. By slowing down a little, you can gain a lot in reduced braking distance. Vehicle weight has a decided effect on stopping distances. The heavier the vehicle, the more work the brakes must do to stop and the more heat they absorb. But the brakes, tires, springs, and shock absorbers on heavy vehicles are designed to work best when the vehicle is fully loaded. Empty trucks require greater stopping distances because an empty vehicle has less traction. It can bounce and lock up its wheels and give much poorer braking. You cannot steer or brake a vehicle unless you have traction. Traction is friction between the tires and the road. There are some road conditions that reduce traction and call for lower speeds. It will take longer to stop, and it will be harder to turn without skidding when the road is slippery. You must drive slower to be able to stop in the same distances as on a dry road. Wet roads can double the stopping distance. Reduce speed by about 1/3. For example, slow from 55 to about 35 miles per hour on a wet road. On packed snow, reduce speed by 1/2 or more. If the surface is icy, reduce speed to a crawl and stop driving as soon as you can safely do so. Sometimes it's hard to know whether the road is slippery. Here are some signs of slippery roads. Shady parts of the road will remain icy and slippery long after open areas have melted. When the temperature drops, bridges will freeze before the road will. Be especially careful when the temperature is close to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Slight melting will make ice wet. Wet ice is much more slippery than ice that is not wet. Black ice is a thin layer that is clear enough that you can see the road underneath it. It makes the road look wet. Anytime the temperature is below freezing and the road looks wet, watch out for black ice. An easy way to check for ice is to open the window and feel the front of the windshield. If there's ice on the windshield, the road surface is probably starting to ice up. Right after it starts to rain, the water mixes with the oil left on the road by vehicles. This makes the road very slippery. If the rain continues, it will wash the oil away, but be especially careful when the rain begins. In some weather, water or slush collects on the road. When this happens, your vehicle can hydroplane. It's like water skiing. The tires lose their contact with the road and have little or no traction. You may not be able to steer or brake. You can regain control by releasing the accelerator and pushing in on the clutch. This will slow your vehicle and let the wheels turn freely. If the vehicle is hydroplaning, do not use the brakes to slow down. If the drive wheels start to skid, push in the clutch to let them turn freely. It does not take a lot of water to cause hydroplaning. Hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour if there is a lot of water. Hydroplaning is more likely if the tire pressure is low or the tire tread is worn. The groove in a tire helps carry away the water on the road, and if they are not deep enough, they do not work well. Be especially careful driving through puddles. You don't know how deep they are, and often the water is deep enough to cause hydroplaning. Drivers must adjust their speed for curves in the road. If you take a curve too fast, two things can happen. The wheels can lose their traction and continue straight ahead, so you skid off the road. Or the wheels may keep their traction and the vehicle rolls over. Tests have shown that trucks with a high center of gravity can roll over at the posted curved speed limit. Slow to a safe speed before you enter the curve. Braking in a curve is dangerous because it is easier to lock the wheels and cause skidding. Slow down is needed. Don't ever exceed the posted speed limit for the curve. Be in a gear that will let you accelerate slightly in the curve. This will help you keep control. You should always be able to and prepared to stop within the distance you can see ahead. Fog, rain, or other conditions may require that you slow down to be able to stop in the distance that you can see. At night, you can't see as far with low beams as you can with high beams. When you must use low beams, slow down. When you're driving in heavy traffic, the safest speed is the speed of other vehicles. Vehicles going the same direction at the same speed are not likely to run into one another. Drive at the speed of the traffic, if you can, without going at an illegal or unsafe speed. Keep a safe following distance. The main reason drivers exceed speed limits is to save time. But anyone trying to drive faster than the speed of traffic will not be able to save much time. The risks involved are not worth it. If you go faster than the speed of other traffic, you'll have to keep passing other vehicles. This increases the chance of a crash. It is more tiring. Fatigue increases the chance of a crash. Going with the flow of traffic is safer and easier. Going slow is the most important thing in going down long, steep hills safely. If you do not go slowly enough, your brakes can become so hot they won't slow you down. Shift your transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade. Pay attention to signs warning of long downhill grades and check your brakes before starting down the hill. Keep a light, steady pressure on the brake pedal. Going down steep hills safely is discussed more in the part on mountain driving.
How far ahead does the manual say you should look? What are two main things to look for ahead? What is your most important way to see the sides and rear? What does communicating mean in safe driving? Where should your reflectors be placed when stopped on a divided highway? What three things add up to total stopping distance? If you go twice as fast, will your stopping distance increase by twice or by 4 times? Empty trucks had the best braking, true or false? What is hydroplaning? What is black ice? If you cannot answer these questions, or you are uncomfortable with your answers, review this video and the pertinent sections of the manual.
To be a safe driver, you need space all around your vehicle. When things go wrong, space gives you time to think and to take action. To have space available when something goes wrong, you need to manage space. While this is true for all drivers, it is very important for large vehicles. They take up more space and they require more space for stopping and turning. Of all the space around your vehicle, it is the area ahead of the vehicle, the space you are driving into, that is most important. You need space ahead in case you must suddenly stop. According to accident reports, the vehicle that trucks and buses most often run into is the one in front of them. The most frequent cause is following too closely. Remember, if the vehicle ahead of you is smaller than yours, it can probably stop faster than you can. You may crash if you are following too closely. How much space should you keep in front of you? One good rule says that you need at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, you must add 1 second for safety. For example, if you are driving a 40-foot vehicle, you should leave 4 seconds between you and the vehicle ahead. In a 60-foot rig, you'll need 6 seconds. Over 40 miles per hour, you'll need 5 seconds for a 40-foot vehicle and 7 seconds for a 60-foot vehicle. To know how much space you have, wait until the vehicle ahead passes a shadow on the road, a pavement marking, or some other clear landmark. Then count off the seconds like this: 1001, 1002, etc., until you reach the same spot. Compare your count with the rule of 1 second for every 10 feet of length. If you are driving a 40-foot truck and only counted up to 2 seconds, you are too close. Drop back a little and count again until you have 4 seconds of following distance, or 5 seconds if you're going over 40 mph. After a little practice, you'll know how far back you should be. Remember to add 1 second for speeds above 40 miles per hour. Also remember that when the road is slippery, you need much more space to stop. You can't stop others from following you too close, but there are things you can do to make it safer. Stay to the right. Heavy vehicles are often tailgated when they can't keep up with the speed of traffic. This often happens when you're going uphill. If a heavy load is slowing you down, stay in the right lane if you can. Going uphill, you should not pass another slow vehicle unless you can get around quickly and safely. In a large vehicle, it's often hard to see whether a vehicle is close behind you. You may be tailgated. Drivers trapped behind slow vehicles often follow closely. Many car drivers follow large vehicles closely during bad weather, especially when it's hard to see the road ahead. If you find yourself being tailgated, here are some things you can do to reduce the chances of a crash. If you have to slow down or turn, signal early and reduce speed very gradually. Opening up room in front of you will help you to avoid having to make sudden speed or direction changes. It also makes it easier for the tailgater to get around you. It's safer to be tailgated at a low speed than to be tailgated at a high speed. Don't turn on your taillights or flash your brake lights. Commercial vehicles are often quite wide and take up most of the travel lane. Safe drivers will manage what little space they have. You can do this by keeping your vehicle centered in your lane and avoid driving alongside others. You need to keep your vehicle centered in a lane to keep safe clearance on either side. If your vehicle is wide, you have very little room to spare. There are 2 dangers in traveling alongside other vehicles. Another driver may change lanes suddenly and turn into you. You may be trapped when you need to change lanes. Find an open spot where you aren't near other traffic. When traffic is heavy, it may be hard to find an open spot. If you must travel near other vehicles, try to keep as much space between them and you as possible. Strong winds may make it difficult to stay in your lane. The problem is usually worse for lighter vehicles. This problem can be especially bad coming out of tunnels. Hitting overhead objects is a danger. Make sure you always have overhead clearance. Don't assume that the height posted at bridges or overpasses are correct. Repaving or packed snow may have reduced the clearances. The weight of a cargo van changes its height. An empty van is higher than a loaded one. That you got under a bridge when you were loaded doesn't mean that you can do it when you are empty. If you doubt you have safe space to pass under an object, go slowly. If you aren't sure you can make it, take another route. Some roads can cause a vehicle to tilt. There can be a problem clearing objects along the edge of the road, such as signs or trees. Where this is a problem, drive a little closer to the center of the road. Before you back into an area, get out and check for overhanging objects, such as trees, branches, or electric wires. It's easy to miss seeing them while you are backing. You should also check for other hazards at the same time. Many drivers forget about the space under their vehicles. That space can be very small when a vehicle is heavily loaded. Railroad tracks can stick up several inches. This is often a problem on dirt roads and in unpaved yards where the surface around the tracks can wear away. Don't take a chance on getting hung up halfway across. The space around the truck or bus is important in turns. Because of wide turning and off-tracking, large vehicles can hit other vehicles or objects during turns. Here are some rules to prevent right turn crashes. Turn slowly to give yourself and others more time to avoid problems. If you are driving a truck or bus that cannot make the right turn without swinging into another lane, turn wide as you complete the turn. Don't turn wide to the left as you start the turn. A following driver may think you are turning left and try to pass you on the right. You may crash into the other vehicle as you complete the turn. If you must cross into the oncoming lane to make a turn, watch out for vehicles coming toward you. Give them room to go by or to stop. However, don't back up for them because you might hit someone behind you. On a left turn, make sure you have reached the center of the intersection before you start the left turn. If you turn too soon, the left side of your vehicle may hit another vehicle because of off-tracking. If there are two left turning lanes, always take the right-hand turn lane. Don't start in the inside lane because you may have to swing right to make the turn. Drivers on your right may be hard for you to see. You may crash into them. Be aware of the size and weight of your vehicle when you cross or enter traffic. Here are some important things to keep in mind. Because of slow acceleration and the space large vehicles require, you may need a much larger gap to enter traffic than you would in a car. Acceleration varies with the load. Allow more room if your vehicle is heavily loaded. Before you start across a road, make sure you can get all the way across before traffic reaches you.
How do you find out how many seconds of following distance space you have? If you are driving a 30-foot vehicle at 55 miles per hour, how many seconds of following distance should you allow? You should decrease your following distance if somebody is following you too closely. True or false? If you swing wide to the left before turning right, another driver may try to pass you on the right. True or false? If you cannot answer these questions, or you are uncomfortable with your answers, review this video and the pertinent sections of the manual.
The Commercial Driver License Video Series is an internal production of the Training Division, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, and Commonwealth Media Services, Pennsylvania Department of General Services. The producers wish to acknowledge the valuable assistance given to this series by Consolidated Freightways, York, Pennsylvania, Capital Products, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, Rohr Bus Lines, Duncannon, Pennsylvania, and the Eastern Pennsylvania Training Facility, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation at Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania.